welcome back to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. This is Kevin Horde here, and with me is...
Lorenzo Fon. Hi.
Lorenzo, how you doing tonight?
Good. Yourself, yeah?
I'm doing well. It's been rainy, but other than that, things have been good.
Yeah. Actually, it rained just a little bit here last week, but not much, Not as much as I was hoping, but...
So
anyways,
what's a lot of rain there?
Depending, it's hard to gauge because the LA metro area is so big. The local news reports will still talk about an area that's like 75 miles away.
Right.
So it kind of depends. So like, it really only takes like a quarter inch of rain to fall on the mountainside that will create, like a full blown like mudslide.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying,
Yeah, we're supposed to get like 3 to 4 inches of rain between today and tomorrow afternoon.
Yeah, that's a proper rain, yeah. So there were reports that like some areas out here were getting like an inch or two,
Right.
But
that's a
again,
lot.
It was like, yeah. So, but again, it's like, it depends on the area. So like where I am in Orange County, it rained. It rained a decent amount, but it definitely didn't seem like a few inches of it. So, but anyways, moving on. So what are we here actually to talk about? Not just the weather.
We are actually here to talk about Season 3, Episode 1 of The Clone Wars, titled Clone Cadets.
Yes.
So this episode was released on September 17th of 2010. So This is the most recent material that we have covered so far.
And as you mentioned in the last episode, it's a pretty big gap between releases too for this show or series, however you want to consider it, with the theatrical release coming out in August 15th, 2008, and then we're jumping a couple years, more than 2 years later, to 2010.
Right, we've got two full seasons, which would be 44 episodes. So in the meantime, last week we finished up the Clone Wars movie and gave our overall final opinions on that, and Lorenzo gave a little rant on movies and TV shows in general. So I hope you guys stuck around through all that. It's worth a listen. But
I'm very good at ranting, so
it happens. So I think we probably both like to talk, and that's why we are
got into this
going through this 2.5-year adventure. So yeah, Season 3, Episode 1. This episode has another unique feature in that the production code matches the release code. So this was produced as the first episode of Season 3, and it was released as the first episode of Season 3, which doesn't quite happen too regularly, I think, in the midst of production and design and animation and dialogue recording and music engineering and everything else. Shit gets mixed around. So
yeah,
I don't know if Dave Filoni had some particular reason why he stuck with that, but he definitely did. He's actually credited as director of this episode as well. So a wrap-up of the Clone Wars up to this point. We had quite a long battle on Christophsis. Our two main Jedi, Obi-Wan and Anakin, have kind of been all over the place. Obi-Wan's been swinging in to save Anakin's ass. A couple of times, Anakin got a new Padawan, Ahsoka Tano. We were introduced to some Hutts. Rhoda being the first new Hutt that we met, is Jabba the Hutt's son. And he was kidnapped, and a bunch of shenanigans went on with that. And finally returned back to Jabba, and that brings us up to Clone Cadets. And in this episode, we do see some Jedi. We do not see Anakin or Obi-Wan. I guess we only see one Jedi singularly, right?
We only see
just
one,
Shakti.
and which is Shakti. Yeah.
So she's
Go
ahead.
Everybody else we see are either clones we're on Kamino, so we either see the Kamino folk or we see a couple of bounty hunters.
Correct.
And those are all we see. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Shakti's the only main Jedi. So basically, we're getting introduced to. If we're going in order here, none of, like, we haven't even met Shakti in the series proper, right? Just
correct.
Via the
correct,
movies.
correct.
Yeah.
Just the movies. But she is recognizable from Attack of the Clones, minimum. I think she is probably a background character in Phantom Menace, but she's got a proper speaking role in this episode, and we will get to that. So,
yeah,
this episode, Clone Cadets, just kind of jumps straight into the planet Kamino. I think the newsreel at the beginning just kind of gives some generic stuff about what's been going on with the Clone Wars, and then talks about these new cadets that are on Kamino and going through training and what's going on with them, and just kind of what's going on with the production of clones in general. So do you happen to have the fortune cookie?
Yes, I do. The fortune cookie for this one is brothers in arms are brothers for life.
Brothers in arms are brothers for life. How sweet.
Yeah. Which for this episode is fairly appropriate. So
yeah, it definitely becomes appropriate by the end of said episode. So
yeah, and like you said, so it jumps right in with a training exercise sequence with the squad of clones that we're going to get introduced to.
Yeah, and I called this like a danger room type scenario from the X-Men, because it's it's this weird arena that's got kind of a rim around the outside, which is kind of a viewing area. Like at first it just looks like at one end there's an elevated platform where we will meet Shakti and the two main bounty hunters in this episode, but the room itself seems to be able to morph and move to have different structures for, I guess, different there are
different training programs they have. Yeah. So they run them through a few different ones. And then kind of the first note I took after the basic setup is that the clone squad we begin with sucks balls.
They do suck balls. They don't really seem to. It feels more like these are a group of guys that just got together to go paintballing and haven't really figured out their clone paintballing strategy yet.
That's essentially the same analogy I had in my head, where I was like, just extreme laser tag. Right, and it's like the group of people that like you and your buddy went, but it's a team of 4. So like these other 2 people show up, and you don't know who they are.
Right, and you and your buddy both got like a friend from work, but you don't work together, and you've never met like their friend, and obviously your friend and their friend have not met each other either, and they're 2 bros, so they obviously think they're super awesome, and
but they're running straight into the danger.
That being said, nothing's really working out in their favor.
Yeah.
So this.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say this is Domino Squad is the name of this group of 5 dudes that are the main guys that we're gonna be talking about for this episode.
And then the note I was gonna make was, so like we as an audience see that Domino Squad sucks balls, but then they kind of cut up to Shakti and 2 others, which are Brick and Ellis, right?
Yeah, it's pronounced like just the letters LS.
Yeah,
but it's not spelled that way.
Yeah, it's spelled EL-LES.
Correct, and these are 2 aliens that we can kind of get into later, as far as like the design of them.
Yeah. But
once Lorenzo's done talking about Shakti, and I keep cutting him off.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, you're fine. No. But like it is known to them that this group also sucks balls. So it's like obviously a big plot point.
Right.
So I will say reactionarily, at first I was super annoyed watching this group suck. But then when it kind of was clear this was kind of the whole point of it, I was like, okay, well, let me breathe it out and see where this is going.
Right.
Yeah, well, then my other question, though, is why is Kamino really big on using bounty hunters? Because all the clones are based off of Django.
I think it's one of those things where it's like, so a planet has to have like one defining feature, and Kamino's defining feature is that it's a water planet, but I guess the Kaminoans only trust bounty hunter. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it's probably supposed to be that connection to Jango Fett.
Yeah,
they share a profession
for whatever reason. Yeah, they trust
bounty
hunters, but really it's just the writers are like, we're gonna make a callback to Django because we can't use him because he's fucking dead.
Right. Yeah. Well, I didn't even think of that. I was thinking that Django had better things to do, but I guess that is even brought up later in the episode that Django is no longer around.
Yeah, he got it. Yeah, which makes it more confusing that they're chill with Shakti to any degree, right?
Right.
Because like they're jumping forward a little bit, there is tension between Shakti and Brick mostly, I feel like.
There's kind of tension between Brick and everyone. Just to clear that up.
Yeah, so but it is interesting that, like, if you're a bounty hunter, I get that bounty hunters are kind of all about themselves, because then you have like Greedo and Han like duking it out on Tatooine, but that the Jedi very blatantly are responsible for Jango Fett's death.
Right.
But then the other bounty hunters are like, well, that was his fault. He walked into that one.
Yeah, I think by definition, a bounty hunter is somebody that's just out for themselves. So, that's just like you said, like,
they don't want to. Yeah.
Django lost his head. Like, that's his fucking problem.
Yeah.
That's not theirs. If anything, that's advantageous to them, because Jango Fett was supposed to be like the best in the galaxy. So when Windu dispatched of his head from his body, that just opened up slot number
less competition,
slot number 1 for somebody else to slip into. What doesn't really jive with me is, if I am like, okay, are these guys really bounty hunters anymore? Are they retired bounty hunters? Like, they can't be active bounty hunters because they're getting paid to, like, supposedly they're getting paid to train these troopers. And we only see 2 bounty hunters, but it's made reference that each group of clones is being trained by bounty hunters. These 2 guys are working together, and in doing some background research, it said that they're partners, or they're a team or something. So instead of going out and hunting bounty, they are training clone troopers and getting paid. Right?
Yes, yeah.
So they are no longer bounty hunters. They are now clone trainers.
Just paid professional trainers.
Right. These guys are called employees now, instead of like freelance unemployed guys that'll do anything for a buck.
Yeah, they're not collecting a bounty after delivering some sort of goods. They're being paid in advance to render services.
Right. Predetermined services.
Yeah.
Right. Gotcha.
Yeah. Yep.
So
yep. No, we're on the same page there. That's definitely what's happening. So then again, what are the credentials of a bounty hunter that would be worthy to train a military group of cadets, you know?
Right. Well, when credentials to be a general are either to be born with superpowers or be elected into a governmental position,
Yeah.
I guess the people that you are presiding over being just trained by somebody that is called, a self-proclaimed bounty hunter is good enough. Like, is there a bounty hunter guild or something that you need to...
Yeah. Is there a union? Like...
Right. That you have to have some sort of credentials to eventually join said bounty hunter ship.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are there like references? Like, did Brick have to provide references to the Kaminoans?
I think if he did, it was probably LS. And I think that LS probably gave Brick
like a high recommendation to be taken on.
Right. Like, hey, I'll recommend Lorenzo, and Lorenzo will recommend me, and we're both going to get the job. Like, we're so smart.
Great. We're just training all of these clones now.
So did you recognize either of these two guys?
No, not at all.
So both of these guys are aliens that you have seen before, supposedly. LS is this kind of triangle head shaped guy. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to be like a triangle, but in the Clone Cadets show, in the Clone Cadets episode, it comes off more as like a boomerang shaped head, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
He is the alien race Arcona, and so think back to A New Hope. Mm-hmm. The original cantina scene.
Yeah. There
is a triangle-headed alien that just like pops up from the bottom of the screen with with kind of a long stalk neck that just kind of oscillates its head one way or the other, and then it cuts to somebody else.
Yeah.
Same species.
Yeah.
Right. So that's those two aliens.
That's what they're pulling from.
That's where they're pulling from. And then Brick is also in the same... Well, not Brick, but Brick's alien species is also in the cantina scene.
Yeah.
But Brick is kind of this... the lower half of his head looks normal. His face, his face structure, his jaw structure, all looks normal. Instead of like a 1970s afro, he's got like this bulbousy brain protruding from the top of his head.
Yeah.
Right? And he is what's called a Cinetine from Ratataki. And this brain for a head guy is also in... That species is also in the cantina.
So they just everybody
basically
in Cantina like
right
has
they
roots to being a bounty hunter, like
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they were like two designs were plucked out of the cantina and put together, and these guys are buddies, and they're kind. You're all bounty hunters and blah blah blah.
Just making mass generalizations about these alien species that don't actually exist. Like,
yeah, exactly. There was actually one. I found a quote about the Cinetine, and this is an in-universe quote, right? So, Grand Moff Lozin Tolruk said of the Cinetine species, "Never trust a Cinetine. A brain that large contains a multitude of treacheries," which is somewhat appropriate. There is some treacherous behavior that comes out of Brick later in this episode.
With Brick, yeah. Moving on real quick. At some point, one of the Kaminoans, to bring up Django again, because I'm looking at my notes coming up. So they mentioned that with Django being gone, that it's a little bit more difficult to create new clones.
Correct. Because they have to... they're like stretching and replicating his DNA. So it's kind of like multiplicity, where the more times that you clone a clone, you're getting like copy defects.
But so then they're not holding on to the original DNA information.
I think that there's only so many copies that you can get out of the limited amount of DNA that they had. And when you're making tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of genetic copies, there are going to be slight variations and defects in said copying.
Okay.
And also, I don't know if you caught it, but we're just going to stick to Django and genetic replication right now. But Shakti sits down with one of the Kaminoans later, and he says that he essentially says there's more than one way to clone a trooper, and not all of them are particularly effective.
Yeah.
So she's actually sitting down with him, talking about the Domino Squad and kind of what needs to be done with them. And that is his response, is basically, well, maybe it's just a bad batch.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's a group of 5 guys. So the
odds of them all being bad.
Well, are there batches of 5? Like
I don't. Yeah, like this is my other question. It's so like. That's what I'm still kind of just stuck on it. Where like, how. So they're working from like the actual physical DNA that then gets corrupted. They need new.
Well, they were working from original DNA, and doesn't Tan Wee say something in Attack of the Clones about keeping Jango Fett around to like continuously like refurbish the
like harvest his DNA,
right? So
like fresh batches.
Now that he's gone, like I said, they're having to make copies. If you take a single piece of paper and you write whatever on said piece of paper and you feed it through a copy machine, you can take that one piece of paper and make 500 copies.
Yeah.
But if you take that one piece of paper and make one copy, and take that copy and make one copy, and take that copy and make one copy until you have 500, the difference between the original and the 500th copy is going to be substantial.
Yeah.
No, that's what's happening.
Yeah, okay. I get that. So, but like my question is, why don't they just have like a vial of that original copy that they keep going back to? So instead of taking copy 1, making copy 2, and then taking copy 2 and making copy 3, why don't they keep holding on to copy 1?
I think that copy 1, original sample is depleted every time you make a copy of it. So eventually the original sample
they're out of it.
You can't copy it anymore.
It gets destroyed in the process.
Right. So then you have to use copy B.
Yeah. Okay.
And go from there.
Now the other thing is that the Kaminoans know that Jango put in an order for Boba.
Correct. Why couldn't they use Boba?
Yeah, why didn't they go searching for Boba? Like,
why didn't they find one clone that's really, really, really fucking good?
Yeah.
And use him.
And just go there. I also had that thought too. Like, you are literally on a planet of clones of a dude.
It sounds...
But you're...
Yeah, it sounds to me like they're the best cloners that there are, but they're still working on perfecting the whole cloning thing.
Yeah.
And so they're trying, trying different things, and maybe they, maybe they're like, all right, this is like the best way to do it. So they take like 10% of original Jango Fett DNA that they have left. And they dump it all into this vat, and they do whatever.
Yeah.
Put batteries in it and armor and blasters or something. and they hit bake, and then like 2 days later they're like, fuck, it didn't even work, and now like they're out all of that DNA.
Yeah.
So I think maybe they're part of it is like learning as they go, potentially. One of my questions is the way that they talk about Domino Squad later in this episode is that I think that Brick actually calls them a bad batch, but it's a group of 5 guys. So when they're pumping out, I think when Obi-Wan goes to Kamino in Attack of the Clones and he finds out that there is a clone army, there's 500,000 troopers already and 500,000 on the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
This would mean 100,000 batches.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
But I don't think they're coming in small batches, though, because you have to remember when he's going on that grand tour.
Right.
They show, like, the different stages of Jango clones.
I totally agree with you, but in this episode, they're talking about those 5 guys as being a bad batch.
I think they're just singling those 5 out. Like, there might be a few others around that of the same batch, but maybe, like, again, think of it this way. So, like, back the copier analogy is very apt. So, like, you got the 1 and you hit copy 500, right?
Mm-hmm. So you have a batch of 500.
So, like, just narrowing it down.
Right.
But then 500 comes out, but of the 500, for 10 of them, for whatever reason, the paper just didn't sit in the tray right when it was getting fed into the thing.
Which happens all the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for whatever reason, 10 of them got janked up. Doesn't mean 10 of them in a row, right?
Okay.
It's just that you just happen to find 10 that, for whatever reason, the page just got flipped about 90 degrees, or like the ink, for whatever reason, didn't catch the bottom corner, right?
I gotcha.
So, like, it's not that he's talking about the entire batch entirely. It's just, like, literally just these 5, for whatever reason, suck balls, right?
Yeah, I was looking at it differently. And if I can use like a beer analogy.
Yeah.
I'm from St. Louis area. I like beer. Budweiser is a big thing here. But when Budweiser makes a batch of beer, it's not a 6-pack.
Yeah.
Right? It's 100,000 6-packs or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what
it's
their
the
actual
giant.
I don't know what their actual quantity is per batch, but it's a big vat. It's a lot. Mm-hmm. So if they actually had a bad batch, that would not affect 1 6-pack. That would affect truckloads of 6-packs.
Yes. Yeah.
So I guess I was thinking of it more like that, where if there was a quote-unquote bad batch, it would be more than just these 5 guys. Mm-hmm. But I understand what you're saying, in that in the group of clones that were produced at the same time as them, Brick is saying that these guys are less effective than the rest.
Yeah. Or just think of it like the burnt chips you get in a bag of potato chips.
Those are the best ones.
I don't disagree, but, you know, like, theoretically, all those chips are coming from somewhere similar in the process, right?
Right.
But for whatever reason, there's a certain few that just sat somewhere in that mega fryer a little bit closer to the heat.
Right.
Right. Nobody caught it, but then when it goes down the conveyor belt and gets dropped into a bag, there's just, you know, it's all one batch.
Right.
But for whatever reason, the few that just got kind of like swam around the edges got a little bit more fried than the other ones, right?
That makes sense.
So it's something like that, right? Where, like, there is a mega process happening, but it doesn't affect everything equally, right? So Anyways, so then the Domino Squad get another chance to, or sorry, so they suck at one training exercise, then they go into another training exercise, right?
Yeah, they failed the first training exercise, and then there is some dialogue kind of between Shakti, LS, and Brick. And they're talking about Domino Squad and how big of a failure they are, and there's some infighting amongst Domino Squad, and then they do go back to essentially like try again.
Yeah.
In that time, we meet another clone named 99. And so when they initially fail, like, you hear Shakti's, I don't know, she like hits a button and she's like, hey, whoever's at the other end of the fucking speaker, like, send in 99 to clean up. So it's like this one, this one old ass poor fucking clone.
Like, he's got a hunchback.
He's got
like a droopy
eye and a droopy lip. He's got some physical deformations, and I guess he was just kept around as a janitor, and so he is sent in to do some cleaning, to, like, quote unquote clean up after the
whatever mess gets
training,
left behind.
but I don't know really like what mess there would be, because spoiler alert, like, the on-screen deaths for this episode are at 0 and 0 because it's all training. Like, there's
no actual combat.
There's no actual combat. They're shooting with like stun guns.
Yeah.
I mean, in the real world, like, paintball was a pretty good analysis, or laser tag. Laser tag is probably a better analysis. But yeah, so I don't really know what cleanup would be required. But throughout this episode, 99 gives these guys the pats on the back and the pep talks and the heart-to-hearts that they need to take the next step. So they get done, they failed, they're all pissed, and then there's this pretty clever, funny joke where this one clone cadet is talking to another one, and he's telling some bullshit story about, like, some girl that he ran into. It would be like going to work and you're walking past the water cooler or whatever, and you hear somebody talking about some dude bro talking about, like, the chick that he scored over the weekend or whatever, and another clone looks at him and he goes, "You've never even met a girl," which is hilarious because of course they haven't. They're all
in the same system,
right? And nobody's been off planet yet. Like, they don't have R&R, they don't have relief time.
There's nowhere to go essentially, because, like, again, it took Obi-Wan a second to figure out where Kamino even was. But then, the clones are literally bred for one reason, and that's to fight. So like, the idea that a clone thinks they could get away with lying about something like that is, I did find really funny.
It is pretty comical.
Yeah, because I think we've all met those teenage boys,
right,
who talk shit, and you're just sitting there you clearly have never had sex. Like, this is not even a question. There's nothing you can say to follow this up that's gonna convince me,
right,
that you have actually seen what a woman looks like.
Right.
And in this case, it's like, because they're all clones in the exact same system of training. Yeah, I agree.
It was pretty funny.
That was good.
So after that, all of a sudden, like, 99 is back in with these dudes because one of these 5 clone cadets, which I think we've heard one of their numbers already, but not any of their names, like takes his helmet off and like slams it on the ground. He's all pissed off, and like 99 comes in from, he already got the fucking shit cleaned up from the fake battle, I guess, and is there. He kind of gives him, this other cadet some fatherly advice, which he always seems to be like right there when he needs to be, to say what he needs to say to get these guys on the right path.
Which is a big planet, so it's like, where is he that he's always just kind of near earshot of whatever these people are talking about?
It seems to me that even though there is, and I'm going to contradict myself later with a question that I'm going to ask you, but it seems like these guys are trained in like smaller groups. So this is like 99 is janitor A for subdivision clone group 147 or whatever.
Okay.
These are just generic terms that I made up, but
yeah,
for every 20 guys, they have like a barracks, and Domino Squad is located in whatever particular barracks, and 99 is the janitor for that barracks.
Okay, that makes sense. Makes sense.
This is how I am justifying all this stuff.
Yeah.
So Brick comes in, and he comes down to these cadets, and he basically says, "You guys are all fucking pieces of shit. You're wasting my time. I'm glad I'm getting paid, because if I wasn't, like, fuck you guys."
Mm-hmm.
Which, I guess he gets paid either way. You would think.
Yeah. I kind of, again, that was my other question of who thought it was a good idea to hire bounty hunters to teach a course, right?
Right. And one of the cadets says, "I'd rather be trained by a Jedi." And he said, "Oh, the Jedi don't have time to train you. That's why they pick me.
Yeah.
And I'm here for my paycheck, so fuck off." And
so it was like literally like well, you don't have any Jedi to train you, but I'm willing to do the job even if I'm not qualified.
Right. And later in this episode, I mean, we've already talked about Shakti, right?
Yeah.
Her title, I think, in this episode is something similar to like Master of Training.
Mm-hmm.
So she is there, and although she's not training individually, like, she's still in charge. She's in charge of the people that are in charge of training. So I don't understand why the clones don't understand that they are being trained by Jedi. They're just one step removed.
Yeah. This goes back to just the idea of clones. Maybe it's something in their programming because they're on that accelerated track that.
Right.
Yeah, like, is there still like a normal education that gets like thrown at them, or is that something that can be installed genetically? Like
you're talking about math and reading and like,
or just basic grammar skills, like,
right, and whether or not you're supposed to fart in public and stuff like that.
Yeah, fork goes on the fucking left side of the table. I don't, like over the placemat.
The space fork.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, so like, when is, like, maybe is there something in the development where they somehow miss that, like, yes, a Jedi is training the people that are training you, so we're set, we're cool. Like, there is some order to this.
That's a good question. How programmable are these clones?
Yeah.
When they're in their little vats.
Yeah.
Before,
because if one of them doesn't have the fucking comprehension to make that distillation of thought,
I think it's more this particular cadet just being a whiny, woe is me.
Yeah.
If you were, so he's talking to Brick, who's supposed to be like his training officer or whatever, and his training officer is saying, "Hey, you suck," and his comment back is, "Well, if you were a fucking Jedi training me, then I wouldn't suck."
Yeah, like
so,
just bad ideas all around with that one from a character standpoint.
Right,
but yeah.
Oh,
because like Brick yells at one of them. The other notes I have is 2 other cadets who are named Fives and Echo.
Okay.
Go to Shakti to request a transfer.
So that is Echo. Like I don't remember. I was able to discern who one of them was because one of them calls the other one out by name, but the other one that I was unsure of who it was.
The ones requesting a transfer to Bravo Squad I have written down as Fives and Echo.
Okay. So, real quick for our listeners, these 5 cadets are only distinguishable by the numbers that are painted on their armor.
Yeah.
So each of them, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very straightforward. But when you see them out of armor, they are wearing just, I don't want to call them fatigues because that's too military, but they're just wearing some normal garb with no distinguishing factors. Their voices are distinct, but not knowing them long enough.
Yeah.
Not knowing them long enough, it's hard to pick out who is who. All of their hair is the same. Their facial hair is the same. They don't have all of those intricacies that the older clones do once they get out into the actual Clone Wars. So it takes a little bit of time to figure out who is who. And throughout the episode, here's what I figured out. Number 3 is Echo. Number 1 is a cadet called Heavy. Number 4 is actually given his nickname later by Brick, and he is called Cut Up. And 5 is Fives. And they actually, 2 of them, you hear their clone numbers as well. And those are Fives, who is CT275555, hence his name Fives. And CT782, who is Heavy.
Yes.
Question.
Yeah.
How the fuck does the numbering system work?
I got nothing for you there. I was kind of curious about that too, because that my notes too get really confusing. That's why like I had to jump, because I mean I'm jumping ahead a little bit again, but like when I have a note where it's like 782 tries to go AWOL but 99 catches him, like that shit is fucking nuts, right?
Yeah, so that's Heavy.
Yeah, because I don't even think I caught that part yet. Because then my other note, yeah, Brick yells at 4040.
Ooh,
and
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, so that is Cut Up. Cut Up is 4040.
Ooh, sweet. I'm going to put that in here.
Yeah.
So that would be CT 4040? 4040?
Yeah.
Cool.
4040. Yeah. Because that's the one Brick yells at is 4040. Because I
totally did not catch that at all.
Yeah.
And
I couldn't tell you where I got that, but I wrote it down and figured it out. So
here's what I was assuming. Since 99 is like hella old.
Yeah.
I thought that he was like the 99th clone.
But that doesn't make any sense if they're only on... But the difference between 782 and 4040 is... That's a leap.
Well, there's also 275555. So that's...
Yeah.
That's...
And even...
We would have number 99, number 782, number 4040, and number 275,555.
Exactly.
So I don't know that, and like the CT should stand for Clone Trooper.
Yeah.
But right now they're not clone troopers. Like, Brick makes a point to say, you're not troopers, you'll never be troopers because you're turds.
Yeah.
So unless that means clone turd...
Yeah.
But it doesn't, because it means clone trooper. They should be CC and then a number. In which case they would be renamed when they became clone troopers if it was simply a numerical thing. It could very well be, 782 could be DNA strand 7 batch 8 second round or something.
Yeah, I got nothing.
And that would totally work for 27, 55, 55, but not for 99 or 40, 40. So I don't know.
Yeah. Again, the numbers are too broad. Like, 99. Because also, like, again, back to your batch question. If 99, because we're only seeing him there, is he the lone hunchback, droopy-faced clone,
I don't think so.
Do you think there's that, like, so if you lined them all up, they all have the exact same droop, same wrinkles, same hunch, all that?
Maybe.
Like, there aren't differences of, like, oh, this one's standing up straight, but, like, he's completely paralyzed.
Maybe he was cloned early enough in the cloning process that they were just trying to get like one that fucking worked, and then they would, he's like the beta test, and then he was a beta test that didn't work.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where 99 came from.
Yeah. Like the first proto clone that just kind of came up a little off.
Yeah, not necessarily like the first only, but the first. Getting back to what you were talking about,
iterations.
Right? Getting back to what you were talking about earlier is like the next thing that we're actually coming to is when Shakti goes and talks to one of the Kaminoans about this quote unquote bad batch, and that's when they're talking about stretching Django's DNA and blah 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 blah, and there's more than one way to clone a clone. So I'm thinking that they probably do like a beta batch, and which would be few, 1, 2, 3, small numbers, and then like, okay, we're gonna tweak this and do this thing and try to do this, and it didn't work, and that's where 99 came from. So instead of making another 10,000 of those, they said, "No, this doesn't fucking work." So we'll move on to the next method.
Adjust the recipe.
Yep. One note I did have about one of these Kaminoans is that this like waitress chick, female Kamino person is like she's like overly breasted.
I did not notice that.
It's weird. She's either overly breasted or there's like this weird crest, like chest crest that she has on her uniform, and her ear holes are like lower and weirder. And then when she gets up and walks away, she's either got a wedgie or something's going on. I don't know. It's bizarre.
I would say I want to go back and look, but then I'm afraid that just makes me sound super pervy. But I am so curious.
Yeah, there's definitely some stylistic differences between what appears to be a female and the male. So I'll put it that way.
Maybe it's like the working class Kaminoan, like the blue collar versus white collar Kaminoan, like
could be.
Like because she's in like the customer service realm, she's like, I gotta make myself presentable. So, boob job it is. If we can clone clones, we can definitely get me some bigger boobs.
I guess, but that would mean that these things look reptilian. And that would mean that they were mammalian.
Yeah, I got nothing for you there. Hey, space biology can do whatever it wants, okay?
Space biology it is. Good point.
Yeah, like we talked about with the Hutts in the last episode, right? Like, they're slugs with bones, as I think we kind of simplified down.
Yes, and I am going to recheck out the Hutts to see if they have belly buttons, because I did notice, and I forgot to mention it, but Ahsoka does have a belly button, and it's shown near the end of the movie.
Again, why is the 14-year-old in a... Why do we know the 14-year-old has a belly button? Like, that still disturbs me to no end from a production...
Right.
Character design point.
So you can add that to your list.
Yeah. Anyways, so moving beyond.
Yeah, the end result of Shakti talking to the people of Kamino is that everybody's kind of in this consensus that they should just kill Domino Squad because they're defective.
Yeah.
So it's left up to Shakti what's going to happen. She decides that they're gonna retest.
Yeah.
When right before that happens, they're standing out, they being Domino Squad, and then we're introduced to this other squad, right? Bravo Squad.
Yeah.
Who are supposedly like super badass, and Domino Squad is like, man, we wish I could be as cool as Bravo Squad. Like, they're good. But Brick brings in these two ARC troopers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which are like advanced. They're not just clone troopers, man. They're advanced. Like, they're the real deal. I think they're supposed to be equivalent to Navy SEALs, maybe.
Yeah.
Or probably Army Rangers.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the difference.
I don't know.
Yeah, something of the sort. Or Marine.
The best of the best. Yeah, the best of the best.
They're supposed to be good. And Brick calls this commander Colt, like his name. He doesn't call him CT-0718-349 or whatever. Which I found interesting because later when 4040 meets up with him and gets the nickname Cut Up, Cut Up says something to Brick, and Brick's like, oh, you don't take anything seriously, like everything's a fucking joke, like your little stupid nicknames. But like in one instance it's completely fine because this is a successful trooper that calls himself Colt, so Brick will respect him and call him Colt. But when it's these other cadets that Brick doesn't see as high of quality or as useful, then he's going to point that out as a negative.
Yeah.
So getting back a little more on track, Colt gives all these guys a pep talk, and he's like, oh, you want to be ARC troopers, like you got to be clone troopers first, but we need to see where you're at and how good you are, and we're going to start with the group that holds the best record or best fucking time or whatever on laser tag capture the flag game in the danger room. And he goes, like, ARC trooper
which I did
time.
I did note because this was a nice little Easter egg they threw in. It's something like the Citadel Challenge.
And
it's something like, I forgot what they exactly called it, but it was like program THX and
variation
then like
1138.
Yeah, which was cute.
Another little subtle thing, which happens like right before that. So Colt finishes his pep talk, and they're all standing at attention or whatever, and Domino and Bravo Squad both do that military like heel click turn and then march in step. If you notice, Bravo Squad is not only in order, like they're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like their heel click is synchronized and their march is synchronized. And then there's Domino Squad, which is like it's like 4, 5, 3, 2, 1 or 3, 1, 2 or something. So like they're not in order, and then when they like heel click, they're like a little bit off and kind of doing that. Oh, I got to look at what the fucking guy next to me is doing so we can be in sync. Mm-hmm. It's like JV team and varsity team, like clearly, and then they're out of step when they're marching. So it's just all those little things, man.
Yeah. Because we'll get back to the animation. I do want to talk about the animation, but we'll do that kind of towards the end here. Let's, but
and what?
Yeah.
To get back to what you were saying, it's Citadel Challenge version THX variable 1138.
Yeah. So they're running through the whole thing again. They've Shakti permits them to retake the test.
And yes, and Beta Squad does the test first. Mm-hmm. And Domino Squad is actually like up on the viewing deck.
Yeah.
Like around the rim.
Just observing all of it, yeah.
Which I thought was kind of odd because they're both doing the same thing.
Yeah, so why would they be allowed to see...
Why would they be allowed to watch?
Yeah. But either way, they've already taken the test, right? So like they already know what the challenge is.
Yeah, but there are different... I mean, so the Citadel Challenge is them getting across the battlefield, and then they got to climb to the top of the quote-unquote Citadel and get the light staff.
Yeah.
There's like a staff in the roof of a spire of a fake
It's like
Citadel.
crazy capture the flag, essentially, yeah?
Correct.
Yeah. Are they getting the variable 1138 both times?
It seems like they are. Like Beta... Yeah. It seems like Beta got 1138, and then Domino got 1138 after
But then the test they're retaking is just 1138. Even from Domino. Domino did it once, and then they're just doing it again after they fucked up, right? Or
think
is it
that
a different variation?
I think that it's different only because of the fact that they make a point of saying what variation it is.
Okay. Yeah. In my head, I thought they were just retaking the same thing, but either way, it was odd that they were allowed to just watch Bravo Squad go through it, because then they could just try and copy. Yeah. Either way, even if it was the same variation, they would just try and like, oh, that's what they did. Why don't we just do that? You know?
Right. And even if it was a different variation, you can see like what type of techniques are successful.
Yes, yeah.
And what aren't.
Yeah. It's essentially letting somebody watch somebody else taking like a written test and then going, oh, that's what they wrote. Great.
Right.
Right.
So then I also have a note of one of those directorial choices where the camera view itself, like it does at the beginning of the episode, where it just drops down into this battle arena, like drops down, but then it almost goes to a first person type situation where it's not one of the cadets, but it is as though there is a camera person running through this battlefield in a semi-documentary style filming. Which is
I noticed that too, yeah.
Which is reminiscent. It happens like one other time. Not in the Clone Wars that I've seen so far. So maybe it happens more often, but in the Battle of Geonosis, there's the scene where now I'm second guessing myself. It totally happens in Geonosis where the clones are all running through the smoky shit on the ground and blast for fire and everything.
And they're coming towards each other with the droids, right? Yeah.
Right, but I feel like in an early episode, maybe even like the new Padawan, you had brought up how there was like a shake from, like a camera shake from something getting blown up.
I think, yeah, new Padawan. That's the one where Obi-Wan like gets captured and then chats the guy off
Yep.
over a cup of tea, right? Yeah, somewhere in there, like as they're running down like the one street of Christophsis,
Right.
there is some sort of like attempt at some camera move that isn't just a static shot,
Right.
So, but yeah, and especially since we're jumping 2 years later, they seem to have hit their stride of animation.
Yay!
Yeah,
Lorenzo,
Well,
you said something positive.
Well, that's what I was trying to. I guess we'll just get to it now. I will say, like, with 2 extra years of technological improvements, probably just getting into the groove of animating. So
Right.
like maybe they're not trying to design characters as much. I will say the animation in the face qualities is definitely less wooden.
Mm-hmm.
So like my complaint about how just every motion in just the face animations,
Right. Was that hard jump from A to B instead of...
yeah, like at least here now things there seems to be more of like an ease into from one to the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like things seem more fluid instead of just being on or off,
Right.
Especially like I think Shakti had some really good facial animations, Like there are still some weak ones. Like 99 to me still was kind of like he was kind of an overgrossed character though, right? Like they gave him like the really paralyzed face and stuff like that. So but then when it comes to just getting finer details and more subtle acting out of certain people,
Right.
there is a massive jump from theatrical feature to this for sure.
For sure. I agree. Yeah. So we see Beta Squad tearing ass through Danger Room, laser tag, capture the flag, right?
Yeah, yep. Laser tag, capture the flag, yeah.
And they succeed. And so Domino Squad is up top watching this. And you hear Echo say, "He's gonna make it, he's gonna make it," which leads me to believe that they've never seen anybody fucking complete this course before.
Yeah.
Like, if it's something that happens all the time, and it's something that is demanded of the clone cadets, wouldn't it be a more regular thing? And he wouldn't be like, "Holy shit, he's actually gonna fucking do it,"
Again, maybe it's just that the Domino Squad are just all inherently completely derpy anyways.
Yeah.
So maybe they've already seen it, but they're still outrageously shocked when it happens,
Okay.
Like I don't know how to describe it. It's like I've met people who are not a teenager anymore, and yet certain things that seem obvious, just like the weird wonder of life is still there for them. Like, they aren't a cynical asshole like me, right? Like
that happens.
So maybe that's what this is with Domino Squad, just an inherent awe about the most simple and mundane things, such as completing the exercise you're supposed to become a clone trooper. So yeah, that'd be my assessment there. Yeah, that'd be my assessment of what's happening there. But yeah, it is. Why there even is a viewing platform for all of that? Maybe it's the first. Maybe the viewing platform just opened. I don't know.
It could be. Earlier I said that I was going to contradict myself and ask you a question later. So we have this kind of bowl arena-shaped danger room, right? Yeah. With a rim around the outside that has a very specific viewing platform at one end, which is like the end where the objective is.
Yeah.
Okay. It looks like this small bowl is in a much larger room. So it's encircled like way off by a bunch of fucking like walls all the way around.
Yeah.
With what look like windows or lights or something.
Mm-hmm.
It looked to me like what the view would be if there was a sports stadium on Coruscant, because you have all of the super tall skyscrapers like way far out.
Yeah.
So it's on Kamino, where property
Which is the water.
Right. Property is probably pretty important. And
so
it looks like a bunch of wasted space.
Maybe it's like an old air hangar, too.
Okay.
That they built over the water. I don't...
Do you think that those are the barracks? Or are these office buildings? Or is production facilities?
No, again, with the way Kamino, as we know it, is set up, you know, it's like what? It's a bunch of water with occasional cities that are on platforms, yeah?
It sounds kind of like there's just like the one city. Maybe. But yeah, they're platform cities, so however many of them there are, one or more.
And then they build up from there.
I guess they don't seem to float, right?
They're definitely grounded in
anchored somehow.
Yeah.
Because
like they're anchored into the platform, which is anchored to whatever is under that water. Yeah.
Right.
So,
and on this Kamino in the Clone Wars animated series, the water doesn't seem to like wave or undulate or anything. It looks very, very flat. And it looks like the color animation is supposed to imply movement. Yeah. But that there isn't actual movement. And if you look at the base of the city or the landing platforms or anything that's outside, where the base hits the water, it's just kind of like misty and like a cone right around where that connection point should be. The sound design has like water movement in it, but visually it's
not.
It's pretty flat.
I'm gonna just undo what I said before and just say maybe that's where they do cut a few corners for animations. So, considering that it is a weekly program on Cartoon Network, you know,
right? So,
again, now that we're back to television, I'll be a little bit more forgiving about some of the animation. You know?
I think everything looks great except for the water.
Yeah.
And I think
which is weird because usually water is like one of the easier things for CG to handle. Yeah.
I was going to say the opposite. But
usually, CG is really good at CG overall. So not even just an animation realm, but like in terms of like a special effects realm. There are a few things it handles really well. Like solid objects like Iron Man, right? Handle really well. Then like fire and water, the computing like gravity and physics and how water acts, you know, that's pretty easy for a computer to render. You know, it's once you get into like the details of like skin, because like now you're getting to like textures and musculature, right? But like water in a cup, you know, a computer knows what that's going to be like. There's only one thing it needs to do, and it's react to gravity, you know? So usually that's fairly easy, but then it does take a second to program like, hey, there's a stick here, so you have to interact with the stick. Right.
Gotcha.
You know? So, but like think about, again, like Finding Nemo came out against this episode, like what, 7 years prior? 2003? Right. So again, like the surface level water there, you know, again, we're jumping budgets and all that business again, but in terms of, again, just the idea that a computer can handle water,
right?
You know, by at least 2003, you know, we got a good idea that it could do fine, right? So yeah, that's That's my random nerdy knowledge on computer animation. So
Hey, that works.
yeah.
So moving forward, Domino Squad goes out and tries to beat Citadel Variation 1138
Yeah.
Forum B or whatever it is. And they're going out fucking gung-ho, like, we're gonna show these dudes that we're not fuck-ups, and, like, we can be ARC troopers too, and we're awesome, and whatever. So they're running through, and immediately Shakti and LS and Brick are, like, they're looking down, and then the ARC trooper Colt is basically saying, what the fuck are these guys doing? Like, they're running around like a bunch of fucking idiots. So one of the clone cadets gets shot down.
Yeah.
And Heavy and maybe Cut Up, I don't know, 2 or 3 of the remaining cadets just keep on going. One of them stops and is like, hey guys, like, I think he's hurt. We need to do something. We can't just leave him here. And they're like, no, we need to win. That's what we need to do. Just leave him behind. So they leave him behind. Automatic fail.
Yes. See, now we're getting jumbled up because I was already thinking of that's not the redo. That's their first attempt.
No, that's their second. They do it 3 times.
Oh, okay, there's 3 times. Yeah. So, but then
this
they
is number
count,
2.
Yeah, so number 2. Yeah, they count the second one. It seems as like their final test that they fail.
Yes, this is
3. Yeah, 3 to me is the redo. So
yes.
I'm jumbled up there. Yeah.
Yes. So they take. You see them at the beginning, not pass.
Yes.
Then they do this, which is supposed to be their final test.
Yes.
And they fail.
Because they left a dude behind.
Because they just left a dude behind.
Yeah.
And clone troopers never leave a brother behind.
So then that's when 5 and Echo's request to transfer to Bravo Squad.
Yes. And they totally do it in what they think is a sly fashion, which it's not.
Yeah.
They go to Shakti, and they kind of come across as, hey, like, we think everything's good, but we're not really sure about, like, a couple of the dudes, and we think we would perform better if you put us somewhere else, like maybe Bravo Squad, like, that would probably work. Like, trying to be all weird about it when...
Like, it doesn't have to be Bravo Squad, but Bravo Squad would be great. Like,
right. And Shakti has some awesome advice. She says something to the effect of, I am a Jedi where the individual and the organization are one and the same.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells these guys, you are exactly where you need to be. Mm-hmm. And if you can't figure it out together, you can't figure it out individually. And they say back to her, you know, oh, well, we want, you know, we're just trying to help each other. And she said, no, you're trying to help yourselves together. You're not trying to help each other. So go help each other, and maybe you'll figure it out. And I think this is when she tells them, I've decided to let you retest. So you haven't completely failed. Like, you have one more chance.
Yeah. Yeah, because she denies the request to join Bravo Squad and then allows them to retake the test. So then... at the same time, then, so this is where I have Brick yelling at 4040, who is cut up. That's, I think, where I got, because Brick is yelling, is like, CT 4040, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then only later did I make the connection that 4040 and cut up were one and the same.
Yeah, so this clone cadet goes and meets Brick, which is... I think this is kind of weird because this little band of 5 dudes is kind of breaking up and, like, going to the teachers, like, behind everybody else's back and like, hey, can I do this?
Yeah.
And, like, don't tell anybody else, but I think it'll be okay. And Cut Up goes to confront Brick or something. I don't really.
Well, he goes okay.
Oh,
so 40 goes to Brick to try and he wants to remove himself from the situation by trying to fight Brick. Is that what?
That's totally not what I got out of it.
Yeah, it took me a second too. So Brick yells at 40, but then I think what Cut Up was trying to do was.
And this is when Cut Up gets his nickname.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a little bit of back talk going on, and Brick's response is to fucking punch him. Like, just gut punches him.
Yeah, because he's hoping that... Sorry, I'm reading my notes backwards. Yeah, so you're right. Because he's trying to provoke 40 to, like, just fight back in general, but then 40 just, like, completely, like, wimps out or something like that. Is that what?
Kind of. Yeah.
So, like, he was trying to...
Because Brick straight up tells 40, in my opinion, you're the reason that your squad fails.
Yeah.
Like, you're a loser. You're the reason they fail.
Yeah.
So it's your fault.
Yeah. None of this seems helpful to anybody. Like,
no, not at all. And 40 is like, that may be true, but... And I feel like he's trying to ask something of Brick, but I don't remember what it was.
I got nothing on that one.
So there's an interaction back and forth. This is where Cut Up's nickname comes from. Mm-hmm. Then Brick punches him.
Yeah.
This is, I think, when Heavy is trying to bounce out.
Yep, he tries to go AWOL, and 99 catches him.
And 99 catches him, and 99 gives him a pep talk, and Heavy's like... Heavy looks at 99 and says, I'm just a failure. I'm a bad batch just like you. And 99 says, yeah, but how can I be a failure? Like, I never even had my chance. Like, they just decided that somebody else decided that I wasn't good enough, so they didn't even give me a chance. Mm-hmm. And then he essentially tells Heavy, they're giving you another chance, so take it. Like, don't let your brothers down. Fucking do what you know you need to do. You know you can do it. And he keeps calling him Heavy, and Heavy's like, quit calling me that. Quit calling me that. My name's CT, what is it, 287?
782.
CT 782. And he's like, and 99 says something like, you've never been a number to me. To me, you've all had names.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Oh boy. Yep.
So.
Yep.
Cut to, the rest of the squad looking for CT 782, and they're like, "Where is he? If he doesn't show up, we'll definitely fail because there'll be one short." Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And then CT 782 walks up and he goes, "Not today. Today, brothers, we pass." And he's like, and the name's Heavy. So they go into the arena. They're working together marvelously. Yeah. Everything is like delicious, and they're working as a squad and working together. And they get near the end where they're being shot at by a fucking building, which I thought was kind of bullshit. So there's like fucking droids and battle droids, super battle droids all over the place, and they're taking them out left and right, whatever. Mm-hmm. The actual citadel down at the other end of the danger room is one building that sticks up like 2 stories and has like 965, I don't even know how many, like blaster cannons just built into the side of it. So their final attack is a building. And I don't remember if it's one of the cadets or if it's LS that says something like, "Ooh, it's time to use those ascension cables to get to the top of the citadel."
It happens nearly simultaneously, I believe. Like, I think both LS kind of mentions it, and then once the cadets get down there, they're like, "Oh, our extension cables are going to come in handy." And then, like, they come to the realization that they don't have them.
They don't have them. They check their Batarang utility belts, and they don't have them.
Yeah.
And LS says something like, "Oh, where are their ascension cables?" And Brick goes, I guess they got lost. So clearly he took them. And it's hard to tell if he's trying to sabotage these clones the entire time, or if he's actually trying to do like some hard parenting or hard coaching and make them better.
Oh, from my viewing, I totally got that he was trying to sabotage them for some reason.
Yeah, I got the same.
I
got the same feeling as well.
Yeah, I don't know why. I didn't understand the motivation behind that.
It's definitely not explicit, but it seems like he's just got some boner against these guys and wants them to fail, thinks they're losers, and is trying to prove that they are. In reality, the opposite happens, where they're just overcoming all this adversity, because even without these extension cables, LS is complaining to Shakti like, "Oh, it's not fair, it's not fair." He fucking nanny poo-pooed on them, and she says to the effect of, "War's not fair. You know, good troopers will be good troopers. They'll figure it out."
Yeah, it's essentially like shit happens. Figure it out.
Yep.
Right.
So these guys work together. One of them draws fire. They shoot the building and make the building not shoot back anymore, and then they use the blaster cannon sticking out of the building to climb up. They capture the laser space flag, and everything's great. They pass. Everything's golden. And Shakti's comment is that they are the finest soldiers that she has ever seen, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Which means that they're better than Beta Squadron, they're better than the ARC Troopers, and they're better than those two guys that found out where Road to the Hut was that were the best in the squadron.
Yeah. I got nothing for you there either. Domino's ability to overcome all challenges and adversity very much literally overnight.
Right.
It's quite the leap, especially considering that they all went off on their own shitty little attempt to get out of Domino Squad.
60% of them did.
Yeah, and then suddenly the next morning, like, because they each individually had their own change of heart, therefore they can work together. Like, that definitely was a major annoying part that hit me, and I just that bothered me to no end for sure. It was rather convenient. I get they only have 22 minutes to wrap it up, but there could have been definitely
I think a lot of things in the show are convenient, and
more
this convenience bothered me less than most.
Yeah.
So since they passed the test, they graduated. And it shows, I think, LS giving each of them a pin, like pinning this. It looks like an award that they would win for having served valiantly in battle, but it's a graduation pin, I guess.
Yeah, like they beat laser tag. So
they beat space laser tag, danger room, capture the flag. And so they got a pin, and now they have graduated to clone troopers instead of clone cadets. And Heavy gives his pin to 99. And I think 99 says something like, "How can I repay you?" or something. And Heavy basically says, "Keep that pin, and I'll catch you next time that I see you."
Yeah.
We'll chat later. A little thank you to him, which how touching. So, that's the end of the episode. Is them in full clone trooper armor, and you can't tell who's who, and they're all in Legion formation and marching off. So,
yeah. So, what'd you think overall then?
Overall, man, I give this one a thumbs up. I like it.
Yeah.
these type of stories, despite their faults, because there are some, are where the Clone Wars shine. This whole brotherhood and the overcoming adversity and the building on strengths of one to benefit the whole, is where the Clone Wars shines overall. And I think that it is well done in this episode. A few criticisms that I have are some of them are just technical, like the animation of, I don't know if you noticed, the armor that they're wearing while they're cadets in training looks more like some rubber bodysuit, because when they move, they're not separate pieces. Like the breastplate doesn't move differently from the abdomen plate, doesn't move differently from the cod piece. Like the whole thing just like rotates, like twists. They're Gumby.
Yeah.
And out of these 5 guys on Domino Squad, only 4 of them are named. So whoever is Domino Squad number 2, I'm thinking that we will learn their name in another episode, which could have already happened in the series, like if it was something in season 2.
Yeah. But because we're jumping all over the place here.
But because of the timeline of release as opposed to chronology, we're not privy to yet. So I'm interested to meet who Domino Squad number 2 is. I think that, overall these 5 guys had, obviously number 2 isn't distinctive enough because we don't even know who that is. I know Fives comes up in many episodes and becomes a pretty strong character. Echo, like, he got his nickname because he would just repeat whatever the radio buzz into his ear was. And so the guys were just making fun of him. I guess Heavy is because he's the heavy cannons guy, which he typically uses like this repeating blaster, which looks like a minigun, but it's firing like lasers, which I thought was fucking awesome. And then Cut Up is like the dude that wimps out and gets punched in the stomach. So
yeah,
that's pretty much all I got for this one. But how did this episode fare for you? Thumbs up, thumbs down?
I will go ahead and give this one a thumbs up.
It's history, people.
But it's still just barely, right? I agree with you. Like there are definitely faults to it. There are major faults. So like, it's being either or. Yeah, like I'm gonna go thumbs up, but it's still just like we're like at 60% here. So like it's over 50. But I agree with you. The story is strong enough that I enjoyed it, and for 22 minutes, it's definitely entertaining. It didn't make me hate life like the theatrical release did.
Right? Yeah, I'm interested, and I should look it up to see what was the last episode of season 2, because you would be coming to this at the end of a break.
Because I'm still also thinking, too, like, I can't tell if I really do like this episode, honestly.
Right.
Or if it's because I really just didn't like the movie so much that this, in comparison, is like a breath of fresh air of decent storytelling, right?
That's actually not... that's not a bad thought. Would you have ranked it as highly had it come after something that you didn't dislike as much as the movie?
Yeah, like, I mean, if the finale for season 2, if you're watching these as they're being released, is like fucking epic, and then you come into this, like, yeah, I feel like my mood might have changed, right? but it's because of just the order we're watching them in for our program here. Like, to those movies, that movie was so weak to me that, yeah, like even acknowledging the flaws of this episode, just that it doesn't completely suck,
Right.
like I'm more willing to be forgiving of it, now, especially now that we're back to a television format, right?
Right.
Like a proper television, like, hey, this is 22 minutes. We're planning on using these 22 minutes to tell one single story,
Mm-hmm. It's
So-
got a beginning, a middle, and an end,
Yeah.
all in
And yes, I
one
like
go, and it's not borrowing from something else unnecessarily to add something else unnecessarily.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, like my major complaints would be similar to yours, and especially like with how the ending wraps up. It's if there is something that would almost make me turn around and say, nah, like I didn't like this, it is just the leap in faith of how quickly Domino Team gets their shit together overnight, So
yeah, I kind of feel like so you see Domino fight the Citadel thing 3 times, right?
yeah,
I think it could have shown, and you see Beta Squad do it twice, right?
yeah,
So I think they could have just done 2 and 2. It could have come in on Beta Squad, like whooping ass.
yeah,
Then it could have shown Domino Squad coming in, not getting it right. Then it could have had all the little jibber jabber in the middle.
mm-hmm.
Why they failed, that everybody thinks that they're fucking losers and failures and degenerates and rejects and all that shit, and that Beta Squadron is fucking awesome and blah 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 blah, and ego pumping them. You can have the ARC troopers come in. I think they're unnecessary. You can still have the interaction between Shakti and the cadets and the bounty hunters, LS and Brick and the cadets and whatever. You can still show Bravo Squad kicking ass the second time, and you can show Domino Squad finally getting their shit together and kicking ass, and eliminate an extra run through the thing, and that'll give you 2, 3, 4 minutes to do a little bit more of development of where they're coming from to where they're going to.
Yeah, exactly. Especially because, like, with that second, as it is delivered, that second one essentially just shows Domino Squad still sucking ass.
Right.
Like, they're not even slightly better. Like, they literally fail because they leave a guy behind. So they don't even complete the challenge, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I agree. Like, just a little bit of restructuring and just not making me have to make such a big leap would have helped me potentially like this even more,
Yeah, and they even take the time to, like, this clone trooper says, he says, you broke rule number 1, boys, never leave a clone behind. Or never leave a trooper behind. So that's something that should have been ingrained in them from the start.
Yeah.
So I think it's an effective means of failure. But I don't think it should have been on their second attempt. Like, their first attempt, they failed trying.
Yeah.
Their second attempt, they failed by not doing the shit that they were supposed to do.
Exactly, yeah. So. I agree. But that being said, the positives definitely still,
outweigh the negatives.
Yeah. There's still enough here that I enjoyed this episode. But again, it's just barely, so.
I think I remember watching this episode for the first time when it came out 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it was the premiere. It was the season premiere. So In April, at the end of April in 2010, there was an episode called Lethal Trackdown, and the brief breakdown of that episode says, after combing the Coruscant underworld for a young fugitive, Plo Koon and Ahsoka pursue him to Florum for a climactic confrontation. So they got some type of conclusion going on, and then like 4.5 months later, you get this episode. So I think that's a long enough break, and coming into these clone troopers kind of having some ups and downs and whatever, I think is a good way to introduce the third season.
Especially like again, we're not in the stride of it yet, but as my memory goes, the show is a good mix between like very story heavy advancements of the Clone Wars, but also allowing room for sort of an anthology episode like Clone Cadets, I would consider it,
Okay.
Right. It's I don't know if you're an X-Files fan, but that show definitely kind of mastered the mythology episodes versus just a Monster of the Week episode.
Right.
And the show allowed for both, right?
Right. In the beginning, they were definitely more heavy on Monster of the Week. And
yes.
Later, I mean, that's why there's been, 2 reunions of the X-Files?
The 2 new seasons that just came out, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and even this last season, it was like only the first and the last episode were mythology episodes. Everything else was just like a standalone episode that happened to have Scully and Mulder in it.
Right.
So, again, watching in this order and trying to make some sense out of it is really interesting because I think, if we were to come off season 2, I'm not... So even disregarding whether or not I would have liked this episode more or less, just, now that... Honestly, as soon as you read that description of season 2 finale, I have no memory of that, honestly.
I don't either.
I have no memory of it, so I'm curious about when we do get to it. But clearly then, jumping into season 3 with this sort of episode, that doesn't include Ahsoka, doesn't include Anakin, doesn't include Obi-Wan, I'm appreciative of the show to... in one series kind of encapsulate the feeling of Star Wars in terms of like every character that you see has some sort of backstory,
Right.
But as a standalone episode, watching in this order, I think we're good, like it was like I said, it's entertaining enough for 22 minutes, so yeah.
Right. And that episode in question, season 2, episode 22, we will get to episode 48.
So we got a while yet.
We got a while to go.
Yeah. All right. Any other final thoughts here?
No, I mean, that's all I got. So we just need to do our normal shout-outs for social media and our thanks to listeners, Kevin and Lindsay, and that's it, man.
Yeah, so on Twitter, if you want to reach out to us, we're at Not the Nerds. Same with Instagram. On Facebook, we're at Not the Nerds Podcast. And then if you would like and subscribe to wherever you're listening to us, iTunes, Google Play, that'd be very helpful to us. Email. You can also email us at notthenerdspodcast@gmail.com. Did I get all of that right?
Yep, that is correct. Cool. And thanks again to Kevin and Lindsay for contributing their work to our show. And respectively, that's Kevin over on Twitter at They Call Me K-Dub. And Lindsay's Gmail account is strangefantasymusic@gmail.com. So check them out as well.
All right.
That's all I got for this week. Next week, we've got... I'm delaying for a second. We got an episode called Supply Lines, which is Season 3, Episode 3. So we're just hopping a couple of episodes in release order, and that's what's up next chronologically. So we'll see you next week for Supply Lines. See what that brings us.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. See ya.
Alrighty, see you, nerds.